What's going on, everybody? If you're watching on video, not listening on audio, or doing both at the same time somehow, you're probably wondering two things looking at me right now. One, what's with the black tie attire? And two, what's the deal with those things on your face? Glasses. We'll get to both of them. I'm obviously rocking the full nerd look today. Well, this isn't black tie attire per se. For me, it's certainly formal attire. And if you're listening on audio, it's just a sweater over a button down, the way nerds do, to match with my new nerdy glasses, which we'll get to in a second. Let's start with the formal attire. I just came back from lunch at Peter Luger's with a friend, my boy Drew, who is my Peter Luger cohort, partner in crime. It was a special occasion, or a special journey trip this time, because for three reasons, actually. One, out of the hundreds of times I've been there, never once have I been for lunch. So this was a first. We actually had plans to go for dinner last night, but he canceled on me because, he's like that sometimes. Right, Andrew? Anyhow, we transferred it to today, lunch. So first, my first Luger's lunch. Second, my first Luger's hamburger, which if you go for lunch, that's like the thing. It's like a big deal, the Luger burger. And I have never had it until today. And third, a couple of months ago, I saw a friend post on Instagram. They were at Luger's, and they posted something about the ribeye, and the ribeye being the thing to get at Luger's. Now, I've been there 100 of times, and us tough guys who go, hey, you want a menu? Nah, we don't need a menu. We're too cool for that. Give me steak. Steak for one, steak for four, steak for however many people are at the table, and maybe if you're feeling lucky, you throw in a lamb chop. Never has the ribeye crossed my path. So when I heard this, or saw it rather, on Instagram, I called Drew right away and said, we need to put something on the books. We need to go test this out, the ribeye. So, what went down at this lunch? It was just the two of us. We went with a salad, Caesar salad. I got a piece of bacon. And we got the burger with cheese and the ribeye. Salad, bacon, whatever. You know the deal. So, the burger, first off, I got to say, if you haven't had a Luger's burger, the meat of the burger was phenomenal. And you know what? I'm going to stop right here for a second, backtrack a minute. Just to back up a little bit on just Luger's in general. I did a podcast on this maybe 5-6 years ago, and after being to Luger so many times, I made this statement in public. You can go back and look it up on Talkin' Ish back in, 2013 maybe, that I thought it as a whole had fallen off. I think my take then was that special ingredient that made the steak just blow your freaking mind was gone. It was like Luger's was Prop Joe, and they had to connect to the Greek. And then all of a sudden, Marlowe came along, and they no longer had it. Somebody else took it, and now Prop Joe was ass out, and no more special sauce, crack, butter, seasoning, whatever it was, did not exist anymore. And I've been back a handful of times since then, more than a handful, but not a crazy amount because of this fact. And usually I agree with myself. Like, the meat's always quality, but that special thing that made it the best steak ever was gone. Still a great meal, still an enjoyable time to go, enjoy my time there, but maybe 15% of the time in the last 6 years have I had the holy shit, this is great. Anyway, back to today and the burger. So the meat of the burger was outstanding hamburger meat. I'll put it up there with anything I've ever had before. That good. The bread and the cheese, a little off. If they stepped it up with the bread, I could have walked away saying that's the best burger I ever had in my life. At the very least, summon Jules Winfield and say that was a tasty burger. The cheese though was like two like almost, just squares, just placed on top of the meat, not fully melted, just like eh. Not that they're known for their presentation in general, but it was great. It could have been like life altering. And the ribeye is like the steak. 80% of the steaks I cook at home are ribeyes. The most fat, most marble, most best flavor, really best tasting part of the cow, of the beef. So I'm pretty familiar. This ribeye, the meat was super tender, but really no marbling. It was very similar to when you go to Luger's and just get steak for however many. It's a porterhouse, so it's part filet and part strip. So this was very much, was it strip or sirloin? I'm confused right now. Something with an S. It was very much like that side of it, not that different from that. So moving forward, I think the ribeye is like a little, thing to use for hype factor and diversification, right? If you're sitting there with 4 people and someone's like, yeah, we're going to steak for 4? Yeah, of course. No. I would jump in and say, how about a steak for 3 and a ribeye? And I might do that in the past with lamb chops, but now you can add the ribeye, and then somebody else at the table will say, ribeye? Do tell, wise Chris. And I will tell. And we will get the ribeye just to switch up the options on the table, because I'm always one for nice diversity at my Luger's meal and in the world, really, when you think about it. So that was my first Luger's run for lunch, and that is why I'm wearing this formal gear. Now, the things on my face, those are glasses. They're supposed to help me see better. So some point, I don't know, a decade ago, maybe even 15 years, a while ago, I got an eye test, and the guy said you could use glasses for driving at night and long distance viewing, like if you go to a movie or something. I got glasses, and they've been on my face maybe 3 times in the last 15 years. Never wore them. I don't even know where they are right now. Somewhere in my home, don't know where. Last week, my wife went to get, to try on her new face, to get glasses. She, I guess, wanted to replace or upgrade, and she said she was going to take an eye test. So I said, all right, book me one too. And this past weekend, we both went, and sure enough, the doctor said similar, that I had some stigmatism in both eyes, and I could use some help from a distance, specifically certainly driving at night, or I could wear them all the time if I wanted to. Like, I don't really need them up close when I'm reading or anything, or at the computer, but they won't hurt. So I walked out of that place buying an awesome pair of glasses and picked them up today, and here they are. For those of you watching at home, what do you think? I think they're like a decent accessory that I can rock with a certain look. Certainly with my nerdy formal Luger's look, they just fit perfectly. Great day to pick them up. So I think what you're seeing now is like my 10th minute with them on combined, and the few minutes I had walking on the street was super odd. I didn't put them on when I was driving because I was still weird and I'm still adjusting, and it's going to take probably a minute, maybe a couple weeks. But when I was walking on the street, I felt like I was 3 feet tall. Like, the ground felt so close to me, and that made my walking really fucking awkward. I don't know what I looked like with people who are watching me walk, because everyone does that when I walk by. They stop in their tracks and just say, whoa, I have to watch that guy. So if they were watching me walk, I probably looked a little odd. But it's a new face, a new me, a new beginning. All right, I'm overhyping all that a little bit, but it's certainly a new accessory and a new thing that might make my life a little better. I can certainly tell, when I put them on, the guy said, in the store, look across the street and read that sign with your glasses off and glasses on, and major difference. I could sort of see something without the glasses, then I put them on and they're sharp as hell. Whoever thought of this glass idea, genius. Give that guy a raise. All right, so onward. What do we got today, or this weekend rather? NFL Championship weekend. We're down to the Final Four. Always a fun weekend, a fun day actually. We're spoiled from Saturday, Sunday the last 2 weeks, and now we just get Sunday with the odd time, the 3 and the 6:40. I'm sure there's a reason why they do that, if there is, and I probably knew it once upon a time when I was a real crazy sports fan. Now I don't even know why. But 3 and 6:40, so if you're planning the usual 1-4 Sunday, think again, kids. Anyway, we got the 1 verse 2 and the 1 verse 2, which is the chalk. How the experts at home expected it to be. All the teams with the byes won last week. Are these the best 4 teams all year long? Certainly the 3 minus the Pats, I would say. I would say the Patriots were not one of the 4 best teams. Probably the Chargers, 12-4, who got annihilated. So if you tell me that we have the 3 best teams all season long plus Brady, Belichick, Patriots, that works for me. You can't get much better than this foursome when you started the playoffs, right? This is kind of what we wanted / expected in a way. Let's look at it. So let's start with the Patriots in the AFC. The Patriots traveling into Arrowhead. Very tough place to play, and the word on the street is that this Arctic blast, that sounds like a Slurpee that I used to have at 7-Eleven, is on the way and could be a major factor. One of the coldest games ever, if not the coldest game ever, at Arrowhead Stadium. You have to assume Pat Mahomes at the least, and some other Chiefs, but he's the important one in this case, has never played in conditions like this. I don't know that for a fact, but coming from Texas in college, I have to believe that this will be something that he's never seen before. That plus going against Belichick could make for a difficult day. What we saw last week from the Chiefs was very impressive. I thought the Colts had a really good shot to go in there and beat them and potentially bully them around. You think all year the Chiefs were known for, obviously, Mahomes and putting up 40 burgers with ease and ridiculous offensive skill players at every position and not being able to stop anyone, which caused them more shootouts, allowed Mahomes to get to 50 touchdowns and Tyreek and Kelsey and Hunt to put up ridiculous numbers because they allowed tons of points. You could run all over them, you could throw on them, they weren't stopping anyone. However, last week, out of nowhere, pass rush was fierce. And the thing is, between Ford, Houston, Berry, what's the big guy's name up front? I want to say Long. I might be messing that up, but they've got playmakers, right? Where were they all year? Houston was hurt. Berry was hurt. So maybe the defense is just coming together at the right time. Someone this week made the comparison, I think it was Ryan Russillo, either on Dual Threat or the Russillo podcast on ESPN. If you remember the Colts, Peyton Manning, one year when they won the Super Bowl, he had an amazing offense. I think that might have been the year he had 50 touchdowns or 49 or something like that with Harrison and Wayne and Stokely, and it was probably past edge. It was probably Joseph Adai in the backfield. But the defense was a huge question mark all year. And then the end of the year in the playoffs, led by ferocious safety Bob Sanders, it just jumped up 3 levels. And between that combined with Peyton Manning's offense, took them to a Super Bowl victory. Maybe that's what we're seeing here. Maybe. The other hand is, last week was a great game by NFL pros, and they're going to revert back to the mean, and the Patriots are going to be able to do what they please and run up and down the field on them. Will the Pats be able? Does that mean a Patriots victory? Not necessarily, because I'm not saying the Pats will be able to stop Mahomes. Nobody's been able to do that. However, the Patriots' running game last week was phenomenal. The game plan was outstanding. Defense was impressive. The Chargers, they just own the Chargers, who you could argue, I said in this podcast 2 weeks ago, the Chargers might have been the best team in the league all year. So are the Chiefs definitely a tougher opponent than the Pats faced last week? Not sure. I think they have an edge with Andy Reid. Then not Vance Joseph. Vance is the Denver guy who just got fired. Anthony Lynn. So that matchup, Reid versus Belichick, is a little more in line with one another. I think it sets up for an awesome game. It's a rematch. They both, it was like 40-39. I think so, like ridiculous points in the middle of the season when they played earlier. Arrowhead, the cold. It's so hard to pick against Brady and Belichick in this spot, and I can't do it. I think Mahomes is the future of the league. I think if you're, having a discussion with your people 3 years from now, who's going to be the best quarterback in the league, I think you'd be foolish to not say Mahomes. I know it's easy to say the young, cool guy, but he's just that, I can only think of two guys who, in the last 20 years, since I've been in my, prime as a sports fan, that I can remember seeing throw the ball in the very start of their career and just be like, whoa. It's just, and it's Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes, right? That's exactly what it sounds like. Every time it leaves their hand. Just people don't throw the ball like this guy. And he'll be back. But I think we get one more Super Bowl from Brady and Belichick. I'm sure we've been saying that, 5 other times. And it's absolutely insane what they do. But this is a coin flip. 3 points Vegas has it as, between the coach and the QB and the weather. I think the Pats find some way to pull it out. If you tell me on Monday that the score was Chiefs 35 and Patriots 13, I wouldn't be shocked. But I'm going to go with Pats 24-20. And Pats go on to another Super Bowl. In the NFC, Saints and Rams, clearly the two best teams all year long in that side of the NFL in the NFC. And what it really came down to was their matchup earlier. Who was going to have home field, right? And the Saints playing in the Dome, yes, they were super close to not being around, from playing golf right now against the Eagles, and they somehow found a way to pull that out. So, I can see you doubting the Superdome. However, in this spot, Breeze close, so close to that second Super Bowl run and potentially second Super Bowl title. I don't see them losing this game at home. Now, the Rams can put up a hell of a fight. They have talent all over the place. With Talib back, their defense changes drastically. The first 6 weeks of the season, however long it was before he got hurt, their defense was almost dominant. He went out. Marcus Peters started to guard the best receiver, and everything, domino effect, totally fell off the rails. Not as much as Cooper Kupp going out on the offensive side, way more important. Now Talib's back, so he's going to be on Michael Thomas. If he can push him around and bully him like he likes to do, then we have something to talk about. Can McVay draw up a game plan where Goff goes in on the road and wins in a hostile environment against a good defense? I'm still not sold on Jared Goff being that top-line NFL quarterback. He can prove me wrong this weekend for sure. Obviously, a trip to the Super Bowl would do that. And while people would give a lot of the credit to McVay, you got to give a bunch to the player as well. I think the Saints win this one by a touchdown. I think they cover. I think we're looking at 31-24. Obviously, weather not a factor in the Dome. I think both teams can move the ball, and I think they will. But I think in the end, it's Breeze and Brady in the Super Bowl. Now, before we talk about what that matchup would look like, and we won't get too much into that because why forecast until we have the real answer. We may have 2 weeks to talk about that thing. So let's look at the potential matchups of these four, right? So from least exciting in my mind to most exciting, the one I want to see the most. Chiefs Rams. It would be the rematch of the epic Monday night game that was supposed to be in Mexico that was 54-51. One of the most memorable games of all time, really, right? Regular season games. The reason that for me that's the least exciting is you don't have Breeze and Brady, and the rematch has to be a letdown, right? Everyone's going to be talking for 2 weeks. You're going to see every play and replay all day long on NFL Network of that game, and then it's going to be a letdown. Instead of 54-51, it's going to be 24-20, and everyone's going to be disappointed. I think Goff would clearly be the least interesting character of the four quarterbacks to be there, and the quarterback sets the tone, obviously. Sure, they have some personalities with Donald and Gurley and Talib and Peters. Guys will be... The Rams wouldn't suck to be there, obviously. They're a great team with a great coach, and breaking through for Los Angeles would be a nice story. I just think those two teams have the least cachet of any of these four matchups. Next would be Patriots-Rams. All the same reasons for the Rams. The Saints are just cooler. They have a better story with Breeze and Peyton and such. Then Chiefs-Saints. Great storyline. I would say there's a big divide in between the first two and these two. Chiefs-Saints, I think everyone would be happy with. The Chiefs, Mahomes, the young upstart, both number one seeds, both high-powered offenses. Mahomes coming up, Breeze on his way out. A lot of cool storylines here. KC hasn't been there in a while. Breeze looking for his second before he goes out. Could he potentially go out on top? You get a lot of good things there. Peyton and Reed are both in the same stratosphere as coaches. There's a lot to work with there. And then finally, what I predicted at the beginning of the playoffs would be Patriots-Saints. And for me, and maybe it's just because I'm an old-timer now, and I'm sure the 20-30 set wants Mahomes and nothing else, Brady and Breeze. Yeah, I know. Patriots, boring. Them against the world. Everyone hates them. I don't. Even as a Jet fan, I still just respect the shit out of them and want to see Brady in a big spot as often as possible, because very soon it's not going to happen. And if I get to do it this time against another all-timer Hall of Famer, first ballot in Drew Brees, two guys who have never played in the Super Bowl before against each other, I think that would be an awesome story, an awesome game. I picked at the beginning of the year, I picked the Saints to win it all. I think it was over the Chargers, as I recall. So I'll stick with that, and I think the Saints-Pats is the best storyline, and I think if it so happens, I think the Saints take home the title, but as I said before, we'll have a couple weeks to talk about that starting on Monday. So, this Sunday, championship day, AFC is the nightcap. So even more where the weather can be a factor, starting at 6:40 Eastern Time. Starting off with the NFC, Rams at the Saints. Should be an awesome, awesome day of football. I am very excited to get there. I know you guys will enjoy it as well, and we will talk about it more next week and or the week after, because obviously it's the Super Bowl and we should hit that up. Even though I'm a nerd now and I really talk about calculus and quantum physics more than anything, we'll still touch on the Super Bowl. Maybe I won't even wear my glasses for that episode. Thanks for being here with me again, guys. Hit me up, Chris at chrisheller.me, or my website, chrisheller.me, Twitter, cheller32. And remember to share and subscribe and do all that fun stuff with this Talkin' Ish podcast. Thanks again. Enjoy the games. See you soon.